I told him, man.
Hey there, everybody, and welcome back for another review. Thanks for joining me again. As you can see from the title, we're going to be talking a little bit about the Taurus GX4 today, but I'm going to do this a little different than I do a lot of my reviews up to this point. I'm going to more than do a solo review of just this gun. I'm going to do a two-part comparison of the GX4 to three other competitive guns that are on the market that you might be considering as opposed to the GX4. Now, I'm gonna do a little bit of a review and a little bit of a comparison. Today we're gonna talk about some specifications, and then I'm gonna go to the range this weekend and shoot them all back to back. Now, of course, I've shot all these guns I'm gonna be talking about multiple times, except for the GX4. I've actually only had it to the range once, and I'll talk about why in just a second. But we're gonna get all these guys out. I'm shooting this on a Thursday. I'm gonna take all these guys out on Saturday to the range and put them through their paces and give you a part two, so stay tuned for that. But without further ado, let's talk a little bit about the Taurus GX4, my first impressions and what I think of this gun and why I'm going to do this two-part comparison. So to start off with, I do have many Taurus firearms. If you've watched my channel, you know that I've tried to be a Taurus fan for a long time with varying success there, but I do own several Taurus firearms, and the GX4 is probably one of the most popular guns out right now. Now, I was not really in the market for a subcompact 9mm, but I picked this up literally just to have the experience of what these double stack subcompacts are like, and to do a review on a very popular gun. Also, I was online shopping at Bud's, and they had this gun for such a good deal that it was really hard to turn up. With the rebate, it comes out to be like 260 bucks. So that was a hard deal to turn away. So I went ahead and picked the gun up. And I'll tell you right off the bat, I like this firearm. It's a pretty good shooter. It feels good, and it feels pretty high quality. It's a big step up in a lot of ways from the G3C that I've got sitting right here in front of me. There's some cool things that Taurus did with this gun. They included this hard shell plastic case, which is, in my opinion, any gun that you pay any amount of real money for, you should come with some kind of storage compartment. Now, I'll be honest, I don't store my guns usually in the hard shell cases that they come in. Sometimes I do if it's something I don't shoot much, but most of mine are in my safe in a way that's a little bit easier to get to and just a little bit more well organized. But it came with two magazines. Two 11 round magazines, so it's 11 plus 1. And I like these Taurus magazines with the yellow follower. I think that's cool. It gives you an extra heads up as to what is in the magazine. Is it empty? And when it comes up, you can see it. So I like that. Two magazines, hard shell case, and that's pretty much all you get. I think you get a lock with it and a little tool to enable you to tear it down without needing another tool. So those are some really cool positives. Again, like I said, the thing feels good in the hand. It's got a good feel to it. The grip texture is similar to the G3C, but it's a little bit less aggressive. Oh, I forgot. It also comes with a bigger back strap, which I'll be honest, I have not put on yet because this one feels pretty good in the hand, but I will try that out before I shoot it again on Saturday, and I'll give you some feedback in part 2 of this review. So I like those things about it. The trigger is much better than the G3C right off the bat. Much crisper, much shorter throw. There's a lot less play in the trigger altogether. The reset is shorter, and it's got a crisp break, and it's not nearly as spongy as the G3C was, which was really my biggest gripe about the G3C, is that it's heavy and the trigger just did not suit me. If you watched my last video on that, I polished the trigger parts up on the inside and got it to feel better, but it's still not quite what I would want ideally. Now, the other two guns I'm going to compare this to, well, first off, G3C, obviously, but the Glock 43 and the Ruger LCP Max. I'm sure if you read the title of this video, you know what's going on. But the reason I'm comparing these 4 guns particularly is because, number one, I own all 4 of these. But number 2, these are all really popular concealed carry options that are readily available right now for decent prices. Now, of all these, the Glock 43 would be the most expensive. Not by a huge margin, but it is the most expensive. And I will say right off the bat that the Glock 43 is the best overall firearm out of this group. It just is. Number one, it's a Glock, but number 2, it's got the best trigger and the best overall feel. But it is significantly more expensive. I think to get into the Glock 43 game, you're looking at about $450. So compared to $265, I mean, that's almost twice as much as the G4X, as the GX4. I'm sorry, I'm going to call it the G4X 100 times during this review, I'm sure. However, drawbacks to the Glock 43 compared to the GX4 is, from the factory stock form, it's a 6+1. Now, granted, I run these Terran Tactical magazine bottoms, which on this one it gives me a 7-round capacity in my magazine, and on this one it gives me an 8-round capacity on the magazine. Now, the 8-rounder does extend the bottom of the grip significantly, but the 7-rounder does not, and can't really get a pinky on there, but that's all right. It's an easy to shoot, easy to control gun. But there are a lot of similarities right when I picked up the GX4 that I thought about parallels with the Glock 43. So I've got some stats here of these, and I don't usually do a lot of statistics in my reviews, but in these 4 guns, I thought it was actually relevant. The Glock 43 comes in at 17.95 ounces, so basically 18 ounces. It is 4 1/4 inches high and 1.06 inches wide at the slide. Now, when I picked up the GX4, I thought, man, this is almost the same size. It seems a little bit wider, but it's really, really close, almost the same weight. And in fact, it is 18.5 ounces, and it's 4.4 inches high and 1.08 inches wide. So it's only 0.02 inches wider than the Glock 43. It seems a little wider when you look at them side by side. It does, but it's actually very, very close. Now, what you'll also notice, as I'm sure you can see, is the Glock 43 is a little bit longer. So it's 6.26 inches long, whereas the GX4 is 5.8 inches long. So it's a little bit shorter, but it has a shorter barrel. Now, as far as shooting those 2 back to back, the Glock 43 is a little bit easier to control, I will say that, but not much. It's marginal. It's marginal. if you spend a lot of time with both of them, I'm sure that you could tell those subtle differences. But the GX4 is an easily controlled gun. It's easy to shoot. It'd be easy for somebody that was not a very experienced shooter to get a handle on shooting this thing, and it's pretty dang accurate. I'll throw up some footage right now of me at the range, and you can see that with my very first shots that I took with this gun, I was hitting the target pretty easily in a kind of a, not necessarily a quick draw, but not in a taking my time type manner. I generally shoot pretty fast. I don't have any kind of reason to really bear down and look at the sights too much. And the GX4 performed very well in that manner. Like I said, I'm a little more experienced with the Glock 43, and I think it's a little bit more accurate for me, but you know, for $200 more, that's a decision that you have to make for yourself. Now, compared to the LCP Max, which is a gun I really like and I carry a lot, this is obviously not a 9mm, it's a 380, but this is a much harder gun to control than either the GX4 or the Glock 43. It's much smaller, and my statistics here, the weight of this gun is 10.6 ounces, so it's significantly lighter. And I mean, you can really tell right off the bat that there's not nearly as much to it. It's shorter at 5.17 inches compared to 5.8 inches on the GX4. It's that's the length. The height, it's a little bit shorter height wise, so it's 4.1 as opposed to 4.4, and the width is it's slimmer as well, and you can see it's 0.8 inches, whereas the GX4 is about an inch wide at the side. Now the trade-off, like I said, is even though the LCP is chambered in 380, for me, you can call me a puss, whatever you want to do, but it's harder to control. It's just a harder gun to shoot for me. I have bigger hands, and it's harder for me to get a really tight hold on the LCP Max compared to some of these other guns. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible to control. I'm just saying it's harder than the GX4 or the Glock 43, and definitely harder than the Taurus G3C, because that's almost a full-size gun. LCP Max is a little bit more expensive than the GX4, and I would be willing to wager that this is a less durable gun overall. Now, I could be wrong. I'm a big Ruger fan, so don't hate on me thinking I'm getting all over Ruger saying they're not as good as Taurus, because I'm not. I love Rugers, but I love Taurus as well. I'm a big Taurus fan, but I carry this gun a lot, and it's just harder to shoot. I shoot it a lot. I put 300 rounds through this at the range about a week ago, and it's just a harder gun to shoot. Now, in the light of what happened in Indiana not long ago, I'm shooting this at the end of July 2022, so whenever you watch it, I don't know, but we had the shooting in Indiana that was stopped by the young man who did a great job. I'm sure most of you gun people have heard about this by now. He put 8 out of 10 rounds on the crazy person in a mall from 40 yards away. I'm not the greatest shot in the world, but I would struggle to put 8 out of 10 on a target from 40 yards with this gun. With the Glock 43, I don't think I would have that much of a problem. And with the GX4, which is the subject of what we're talking about right now, it's, like I said a minute ago, it's only marginally less accurate for me than the Glock 43. So I think I would stand a pretty decent chance with this one. And I've done a couple of 30-yard drills since I heard about that. Not 40 yards, because I really didn't have the opportunity at the range I've been shooting at. But it's a tough shot, man. And that young man can shoot. But with this gun, I would say that's certainly a capability. Now, compared to the G3C. How does the GX4 compare to this? Like I said a minute ago, trigger on the G3C it's got more movement in it, and it's a spongier feel. It's less like what I would like. It's a heavier gun. Let's see, the G3C is 22 ounces compared to the 18.5 ounces of the GX4. That's significant. You think 4 ounces is not that much, but when you're carrying something around all day, it really is. It's significantly wider. It's almost an inch taller. It's 0.2 inches wider, and it's a half of an inch longer. And mine with the threaded barrel is, probably a inch and a quarter longer. So it's a significantly bigger gun. Now, on the market right now, the G3C is just slightly less expensive than the GX4. We'll compare the size of these guys on camera here for you. Let's see, get the bottom and sides. You can see it's a little bit longer. G3C is a little bit wider. Now, like I was saying, this gun is only slightly cheaper at this point, but the package I got, I'm not sure exactly what they're offering in those packages right now, but the package I got, the G3C came with 3 magazines and the Viridian laser, but the barrel was defective or something, so I got a new barrel. But let's just pretend like the barrel is out of the picture. The 3 magazines plus the laser, I think that might be a better value. I'm not saying it's the better gun. I'm just saying I think that might be the better value. If they're still shipping it out with the Viridian laser, that's a pretty expensive add-on if you just get that separately. And then the 3 12-round magazines, so you got a little bit more capacity with the G3C. It's got a little bit more aggressive grip. It does have a thumb safety, whereas the GX4 does not. But it's a bigger, heavier gun. And like I was saying earlier, you might not think that those few ounces make a difference, but they really do. So that's a comparison of those 3. Now, let me tell you a little bit about my first experience at the range with the GX4. I went with 150 rounds, and I only made it through 75. And the reason why is I had a very common issue come up with this gun. And I will throw a picture up there right now so you can see that the front sight came loose while I was shooting this for the first time. That's disappointing, I'm not gonna lie. You expect a product like a firearm to come ready to go. It should, but again, it's Taurus. We all know there's gonna be some issues that you have to face with these products that you may not have to face with some others. When I bought this Glock 43, I literally picked it up at the store where the range I shoot is at. I didn't lube it, I didn't clean it, I didn't even break it down. I took it straight back there and put 200 rounds through it, and it was, as if I had owned it for years, and it was fully ready to go. So that's one thing. I've heard a lot of people complain about the very same thing, and some people at the range that I was at said, oh, I've actually had some people have that problem with that gun as well. So there's something wrong with what they're doing with the front sight, and I hope it stays. You would think as much as I shoot, I would have tools to fix that on me. I've got a Glock tool with a front sight, and I knew these were Glock front sights, but the front sight is held on by a 1.5 millimeter Allen instead of the actual nut that the Glock sights are held on by. I think you can interchange them just at will, and it literally looks almost exactly like the Glock 43 front sight. It's not quite the same, but it's really close. But I think they're interchangeable. But long story short, I didn't have that tiny Allen wrench on me, so I only put 75 rounds through this gun that day. Now, I had a good time doing it. It shot very well. It shot straight. It was easy to put on target. And again, I'm not sitting there, really lining up the sights and taking my time with each shot. I don't shoot like that because to me, that doesn't mimic any kind of real world scenario I may face, and it's just not as much fun for me. Now, if I'm shooting you know, my 7-inch 357 Magnum, that's a gun I would take hunting, and so I'm gonna maximize that one shot. I'm not gonna take this hunting. This is gonna be something that if I actually use it in a real world scenario, it's gonna be for some kind of self-defense, personal defense, defense of something, and it's gonna require some pretty brisk trigger pulls. So that's how I try to make my training. So with the magazine in this guy, it's a compact package. Again, 11+1, good shooter. You can see how those rounds all came out, see some pictures of the target. I'm not bragging, I'm just showing you what I was able to do from 7 and 10 yards, which is really a pretty good distance. It'd be hard to legitimize a 10-yard self-defense shot from what I understand. I'm not a lawyer, but from what I understand, it's pretty much, if you're going to call self-defense, it's got to be within 7 yards, which is, you know, a little over 20 feet. So that's what's going on here. Like I said, part 2 is going to come up. Let me show you these guns with the setups that I use. Glock 43 with the magazine that I use. Barely get any kind of pinky involved there, but this is a good setup. It's very compact compared to the GX4. Almost the same, a little bit shorter grip, probably a little bit easier to conceal this, but it's slightly heavier compared to the LCP Max, and this is the 12-round magazine, and I can get a little bit more hand on that, but you can see this gun is super small and will fit in a pocket. I can't really do it in my front pocket. I'm not a tight jeans wearing guy. I'm just not that weird and don't want people to see my junk that much. But you can easily stick this in your back pocket and it's pretty much fully concealed in a pair of Levi's. The G3C, that's not its magazine. Wait, is it? I don't know. Yes. G3C, there's its stock magazine, 12 rounds. Right there, 12+1. But another advantage, if you're just looking for a range shooter, is you got the 17-round G3 mag with the little extension, and you see you get a whole hand and then some on there, but you got 17 rounds out of that guy. But it's, you know, that's not concealable. Of course, you throw that in the back pocket, you got a lot of backup firepower if you need it. So overall, I think the GX4 is a pretty dang good gun, especially considering the price. I know nobody wants to hear it's good for the price. Everybody wants to know, is it just good in general? If it was, you know, $500, I don't know, man. I might opt for one of the other ones in that range, the Springfield or, you know, Glock 43X. Any of those are competitors to this gun. But for what this can be had for, I think it's a killer deal. I think it's a really capable firearm, and it's got a lot of things going for it. Really, this is the best Taurus semi-automatic trigger that I've ever felt at this point, so they did a good job on that. It seems to be built well. The only real gripe I have, besides that front sight coming loose, which again I understand is a really common occurrence, the only other gripe I have is the frame has marked up relatively, not the frame, I'm sorry, the slide has marked up relatively significantly. And I'll get that right in there and maybe you can see. It's not anything major right there around the ejection port. But out of all these other guns, most of which I carry around pretty regular. I mean, I carry this LCP Max almost every day, and it doesn't have a mark on the side. It's got a little bit of barrel wear on there, but it doesn't have a single mark anywhere on that side. And like I said, I carry this every day. So I'm a little bit disappointed in Taurus with the finish that they put on this side. I think they could have done a better job on that. But G4X, good shooter, good value, feels good. what more can you ask for? In a compact gun, I wouldn't use an optic in a compact carry gun because it would just take up even more space, and I think the objective is to take up as little as you can. But you can get these with the red dot mount. Of course, they're more expensive. But I really like this. I'm gonna shoot it some more. I'm gonna take all 4 of these guys out to the range in a couple of days, and I will have part 2 of this GX4 review coming up, and hopefully the damn front sight will stay where it needs to stay. So thanks for joining me on this slightly long-winded review of the Taurus GX4. Again, I'll have part 2 coming up. Stay tuned, and we'll see you guys at the range.
Said I'm a poor boy.